actually, the question is, does teaching change? Do we need new concepts in teaching in virtual worlds? And I think what we observed is we actually don't have to have new concepts, because we can duplicate pretty much anything that we are accustomed to doing in the regular world. However, we may be able to get substantial advantages if we consider the availability of various features in the technology. And I, in particular, simply mentioned the value of a programmed environment. Because I pointed out one of the things that we could do in a programmed environment, if we were teaching a language, if we were teaching a vocabulary in a language, we could actually make the programmed environment full of objects that knew their name, could tell you their name, or could speak their name, or could ask you to identify them and tell whether you were correct in identifying the name. They could actually do that both in text and in voice, because, of course, we can understand text. We do have AI capability to understand text, and you should be, if you're skilled in speaking the language, you should be able to satisfy the AI. So that's sort of where we came up with. Now, Dieter, would you like to comment?
Yeah, like I said before, also I think there will be a change from pure narration in education to more complex things, like you said at the moment, with more interactive elements, but also in the future more using things like simulation, so that a student will be confronted with a specific situation which might adapt to a script or even to the direct actions of the student. So you will have a dynamic environment which resembles, of course, reality, but allows for situations you cannot simply emulate in real life. And another advantage I see is in specific topics, a teacher can support a much more, or much bigger number of students than in reality.
Yes, so that means that we have the capability of reducing the cost of education, possibly by a lot, or which would allow us to increase the number of people receiving the education, perhaps by a lot. And if we want a world in which a large fraction of the population is educated, that's what we need.
Right, especially if you think about providing new skills to a huge number of people. The thing is, when you have created a simulated environment, then it's easy to scale it to a level where it allows for literally any number of people using it. It's just a matter of available hardware.
Yes, so therefore we could provide the instruction to large numbers of people, assuming that we are able to produce an environment that carries out much of the instruction itself. And there would still be instructional tasks left for teachers, because we wouldn't get everything right for every student. But then
Exactly, but the thing is, if you have lessons created by a professional instructional designer, it means you can provide this to many, many people without much additional effort.
yes, and of course, the instructional designer is not going to have to actually teach the class, spend time teaching the class. That designer will be able to spend time in evaluating the instructional effects and improving it.
Right, it will be an iterative process, so you will get feedback after each iteration and try to improve things for the future generation of students.
Yeah.
And the issue that you'll have is not really trying to figure out what to teach or how to teach it. It's getting people used to the technology, whether it's the web world or the AI. People are still not used to AI. They're going to have to get used to AI because it's here and it's here to stay. It's not going anywhere. But those are the things that will have to get people used to.
You are now
Yeah, but
muted.
it's
You are
a
now
funny thing
unmuted.
you just mentioned because just this week there was a huge article about possible or probably needed regulations in the metaverse regarding the inability of people to differentiate between a human a real human behind an avatar or an AI controlled avatar. Because the thing is, with future hardware like improved headsets or wearables, uh, the AI will be able to react to changes in your heart rate, body temperature, and so on. And it will be even more sophisticated in manipulating you towards a specific decision.
That's absolutely correct. Absolutely.
Right, and therefore, I think the AI opponent, I would say, is much more dangerous than a human opponent because it can really react in milliseconds to everything you do, even things you don't notice.
Yeah.
Well, and the thing that teachers have to realize is that the AI, if it's a good AI, is going to be able to teach and learn faster than they can. And so what they will have to learn as teachers is how to adequately use the AI themselves.
That's one thing. Also, but I think, or that's my opinion, is that we have different levels of education. So I think the the simplest thing is just to provide interactive, dynamic content which can be consumed at every student's personal learning speed. But the thing is, with an AI, even then, sometimes the AI might not be able to adapt to every student. Sometimes we have a broad range of different skills and experiences, and I'm sure that at least at the next couple of years, an AI will not yet be so sophisticated to be able to handle all students. And that's where I think we still need human teachers with specific skills.
Without question, you gotta have that person that knows what's being taught, whether they're teaching it or the AI.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think it's also good to know for the teachers is the teacher will have to jump in when the AI doesn't know what to do anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a kind of human fallback strategy.
Yeah. Well,
But that means that the teacher will be able to concentrate on the real important topics, and let's say the minor topics can be probably well handled by an AI.
yeah.
And that's like I said. I think there's going to be more learning curve for the teachers, at least in the beginning, learning what they need to teach and what they need to focus on and what the AI can do, than the people actually using the platform.
Well, they will simply have to do some additional learning.
Right, but the thing is, that's another point to consider. The thing still is the or the smaller the learning curve for the platform is, probably the more successful it can be for larger number of people. Because the thing is, if you want to learn something, you should be able to work with, not against the software.
Yes.
And currently, we all know if you ask a teacher about things like Second Life, OpenSim, and so on, and they all will tell you in the beginning it's way too complicated.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. And that is going back to the design thinking aspect of it. I think that's one thing that any developer of any platform has to realize is that most people, even educated people, aren't going to really be able or willing to learn a complicated new piece of software unless they think they are personally going to get something out of it.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.